All right, guys, welcome back to a sub-episode, episode 12. It's kind of a little bit of a different vibe we're working with today from Tales from the Lockbox. I'm Josh Benoliel, VP of Sales here at Property.ca. This is a Property.ca podcast. I'd like to welcome our amazing guest from Austin Birch. We got Neil and Oral joining us in the studio today.
Thank you.
If you're not familiar, Austin Birch is a listing brokerage on the pre-construction side. Is that the right way to describe
We're a
it?
sales and marketing team,
But
solely on pre-con.
But some people could consider that as what people would refer to as a listing brokerage.
Yeah, you could.
Like
We're fully focused on pre-con.
So sales and marketing pre-con, so they come in and they launch projects, and we're talking a little bit about that today. When a developer wants to bring a project to market, they call in Austin Birch, who are one of the best in the city of Toronto, and then they take it from A to sold of the whole project. They handle everything around the project. So guys, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about Austin Birch above what I just said there.
Yeah,
So,
well, thank you first off, Josh, for having us here. Obviously, we have
pleasure.
a long-term relationship, so it's always exciting to catch up and have a conversation with
Of course.
you. I'm Director of Sales with Austin Birch. I've kind of a long background in pre-con since I graduated. Worked in various markets around the world. Definitely can say Toronto is one of the fastest pre-con cities I've ever worked in, and an exciting place to work as well.
and Oral,
I joined Austin Birch recently. I have a long relationship with the. Sorry.
it's okay. Your team there, it's all good.
We're even just worry about him.
Yeah. I've got a long relationship with the partners of the company. They brought me on to help with this with the project moving forward. My background is resale, but I cut my teeth in the business back almost 15 years ago in pre-con. In the King West area before it was what it is now.
What was the price per square foot on that project? If you
$600 a square foot,
wow.
and that was considered
Outrageous.
astronomical.
how
King
many
West
units
monster.
did you buy so we know how rich you are? So we can gauge
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
I wanna see if the figure matches what you
I
told
did
me.
take advantage of it at the time.
Good. You know, and that's kind of like the historical story that you hear with pre-construction, right? Like 600 was outrageous. Now
Yeah.
you wish you went back and you bought it $1,000 a foot. I remember when I personally was selling $1,000 a foot, and it was just like people were like, "You're nuts! What are you talking about?" And now we have projects like a couple months ago, I won't name anybody, call them up, but like there's projects at Bathurst and St. Clair that we're talking about that are $1,900 a square foot.
Still.
Yeah. Right? Obviously, they have these incentive programs to buy that down a little bit. And that's crazy. So I think, you know, the main reason we wanted to get you guys in here today, up and coming, we got this big project that we're all really excited about. You know, people who know me know that I have a very close bond and found love for this developer specifically. Their product is absolutely bar none the best. And also my relationship with Austin Birch has been developing over time that I really care to work with a project like this. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the project at 8 Temple. We can get into it in a bit about what 8 Temple is, but I think before we get into that, it's nice to preference like what's going on in the pre-construction world. You know, I think that there's a lot of moving parts, moving things with interest rates as high as they are, and you know, you're hearing all these horror kind of little stories happening, projects being canceled. I think there was a report that said 22% of the recent developments that are happening in the GTA builders are pulling out on because they're just not hitting their margins. Like, how does that play into place? And I have my perspective on it, and we can get into my vision, but I want to hear from your guys' perspective of how does that position when you're walking into a pre-construction season. I know you guys are in the middle of launching not just Temple, but 2 other projects. So 3 projects, I would assume a cumulative of over 1,000 units in the pre-construction, more, right? So we're at 1,400, something like that, amount of condos that you got to be sold, which are all not far from each other, spanning from, let's say, you know, from the middle of downtown Toronto to the edge of Etobicoke, all within that same prime locations, all 3 of them, absolutely, really great projects. You know, but all this doom and gloom that people are hearing, and it's not all that. There's great upside. You know, $600 a square foot years ago. Now look at today. You wish you were back there. Where will we be in 10 years from now when we look back at, you know, this time shot of fall 2023, where the world looks like it's scary in the pre-con world, and now you're still going out with smiles on your faces, and we got to sell, and there's good opportunities to be had, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a few points there. I'm sure Oral will have input on it as well. I think for me personally, Josh, you know, you can get the sales pitch answers that a lot of sales agents will give or marketing teams will give. But I don't think that's the correct answer to give.
Yeah, let's get raw. We get raw
to
here.
be honest with you, You've got to be very conscious. You know,
You don't got to polish yourself here.
No.
I'm passionate about real estate. You've got to be conscious of the market you're working. We're definitely working in challenging times. And to come back to answer your question on developers, yes, the days of selling every building out is over.
Yeah. You're not selling a building.
You know,
out
I've
on the
worked in
weekend.
Europe in 08, 09, and that's a down market. This is, to me personally, not a down market. It's just a market that needs to be serviced more, and you need to be particular about who you're working with.
100%.
When I say that, the same model goes when you're picking an agent. The same process goes when you're picking a developer.
This is when the relationships matter.
It really does.
course,
yeah.
And like,
For everybody.
yeah, and I
100%.
think you know better than anybody. Pre-con traditionally, every building would sell out. There was no service levels. There was no real sales pitch. It was 20 projects launched, 20 projects sell.
Right.
Now, what we're seeing, the raw information we're getting on the ground, and that's the analytic feedback I want to get,
Yeah.
is instead of 20 projects selling out, you're seeing 3 to 4 of the 20 projects selling.
Right.
So people are looking at one before you even go to step 2 or 3. Step 1 should be, how good is this developer?
Right.
Then you got to dive in to the history of the developer.
And the project. And,
Yeah, and
the
without
end of the
giving a soft pitch, curated as a developer, you just got to look back to the 80s.
Right.
There's no rebranding, no change in name, no deposits being returned.
Yeah.
So reputation is key. Before you even look at location or product, you need to see what the developer is.
Yeah, and that's and we can flip to the curated side quickly, Lucas. There, curated is the developer behind this project that we're talking about, and I think that's a true testament to what you're saying there. Like, you got to know who you're getting into bed with here. It's easy to be sold on, come into the sales event and we're gonna give you 10% down, we're gonna give you $100,000 cash back on closing, we're gonna give you free assignment, and you know what? Just because we're nice guys, here's a gift card to Yorkdale as well. Just because we're nice guys. Like, that sounds nice in theory when you're walking a sales center, but then fast forward 4 years from now, 5 years from now, it's 2027 or 2028. This project's being done. Now you got a $15,000 cap, the development fee you got to pay. You got to pay HST on the unit because the developer decided not to pay it because you're an investor, and you got to pay that $22,000 bill, whatever that number comes out to. You got to pay a land transfer tax on the unit. Now you got a sticker shock price of, I got all these great incentives 5 years ago. Gift cards gone, clothes don't fit anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got this $100,000 kickback that they're giving you that you need to get on your mortgage. You also have an $86,000 bill that you got to pay cash up
Out of your
front to the
pocket.
lawyer right now on top of what it comes to. And I think when you're looking at something like that, it's really important to know who you're getting into bed with and how they're going to treat you. And that's really where curated comes into play here.
It's really, really important because, as you hit the nail on the head, it's people look at the short-term gains.
Yeah.
You need to look at the long-term play. There's a lot of, and I'm not saying each marketing team or developers can do what suits them best. That's fine. But there's a lot of closing down sale models. 50% off here, 100,000 here, as you said. Vouchers for this, vouchers for that. That's all fine when you're bundling it into a package.
Yeah.
But then look at your long-term play. Like, is it going to even be built?
Right.
Yeah.
Before
Is
you
this
even
project even
is
gonna
the
get
project
finished?
going to be built?
Of course.
And as you said, are the clothes going to even fit?
Right.
So you've got to be very careful. I prefer to buy long-term, buy into a long-term value project,
Yeah.
as opposed to these short-term gigs. Now, of course, we're going to offer some cherries on tops as well.
Of course, you
That's
have
part
to,
of the
that's
game.
part of it.
But what curated genuinely do, and you don't need to take a sales team's word on it. You just can do the due diligence yourself. You can go
Yeah.
online. These guys
Fact check
are
us.
award-winning developers. Your high-rise project of the year for the plant on Queen West.
Yeah.
You can look at
Spectacular.
renderings. You know better than anyone, but you're only as good as what you've built.
Of course, and
It's built.
that's what I tell a lot of agents who ask me when we're talking about this project and talk about what's coming up. And I don't want to only focus on this obviously today, but I say, who has sold? The first question I asked my agents last week when we were all sitting here, it was like, for your show of hands, who has ever been in the plant or the temple condos? I mean, plant or cabin. People put their hands up. Who's driven by it? Who's seen it? And immediately you see the reaction that people get of when you know that product. Me being on the resale side of thing, and I've done multiple transactions in the plant, for example, I know a few things about that project very, very well that not a lot of people will know. Number one, I know that the mix of people who live in that building is very specific. It's actually a curated mix of people who live in there, for
Nice
lack
plug.
of a better term.
It's
It's a higher quality of person who live in that building. Another thing to note that I believe is very important is on average, a 1+ den in that building is getting more for rent than the other
Absolutely.
buildings in Queen West. You're getting more rent in that building. Like I've rented, a 1+ den there for over $3,000 a month in that building, whereas
Wow.
the same unit down the street, right at the corner of Queen and Dovercourt, could maybe only getting $2,600, $3,000 there. They're selling for more money. You can get about 1+ dens there have hit over $1 million in
They've
that
had
building.
good value retention for
Good
sure.
value, and I think another big testament to what works with them really well is that their investors don't just buy once; they're coming back and back and
Yeah,
back.
because I'm going to say, even when you look at the plan, very low, probably the lowest turnover of units in a building, because the investors, talking about long-term play, hold their units.
100%.
And you hit it out of the park once, they're going to keep coming back.
They all want to come back. So let's talk briefly about A Temple, and then let's talk a little bit more about pre-con again, just as a whole, of how we can get some people who are listening ready for
Yeah.
this market that we're about to hit, with 30 projects hitting the GTA
Crazy.
this month. Like in the next, like it's all started this, pretty much started this week. So A Temple, I mean, I'll let you give the pitch on it, but I think for me the biggest thing about A Temple that's incredible, we talked about this outside, is its location in an area that's just prime ready for, it's already started, but the regentrification area, the prospect of that area is just so high. Its location has so much potential. You're talking about an award-winning developer with an award-winning designer behind it, incredible pricing structure that they're planning on coming out, which we don't have to talk about
You have the
today.
inside track.
But I know that the inside
Josh
track-
knows it before I know it.
It's gonna be really, really good what they're offering here, and then just an incredible quality of a built building. So like, tell us about A Temple. Like, what are we?
Yeah,
what are we
without
talking
sounding
here?
cheesy, this rendering, this image brings me a lot of joy, because
I put two together.
yeah, you put two, you've doubled down.
I picked my favorite.
You picked your
one.
favorite.
I don't
So
wanna
this
give
one
too
is
much
one of my
about that.
favorites. So,
Dollar
when I say we talk about renderings, as we mentioned earlier on, you're only as good as what you've built. The plant, we've encouraged people to go visit the site. You got to understand who Curated as a developer, which we've touched on a little bit. I think the only negative with Curated, which the guys probably wouldn't mind saying, is they haven't self-promoted themselves enough.
Right.
They're so good.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't have to.
They're doing exceptional projects. They only do 1-2 projects every 2-3 years.
Well, they're Toronto.
And
they're
yeah.
they're like
They're
like
Toronto.
You're
Right,
right, Toronto. Like
if
that's
you're
the
comparing
way
it to
you-
a city, they're Toronto of the world.
Yeah, they're like a Toronto-based restaurant. Like we don't need to promote ourselves. It'll get when it's good, people will know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're under the radar. They don't need to. They know what they're doing. And as I
Yeah.
said, this is not a rebranding. It's Curated. I believe Adam has an architectural history background, so there's different inputs that they're giving into their buildings. And what I mean by that is, it's not cookie cutter style projects.
No,
Right.
far
They are
from it.
not building 4,000 or 5,000 units a year. They are building unique, beautiful buildings. So much so that when we launch the buildings, friends and family buy a lot of the product, and agents buy the product.
course,
That's a good testament to the
That's it
developer.
in itself.
So I think when we go into the design, and we've brought Chappie Chapo in as design team on this. If your viewers aren't familiar with Chappie Chapo, they're world-renowned design team. They are your Rolls Royce of
Well, they
design.
designed the Four Seasons.
They've
in
done the
Toronto
Four
for a
Seasons.
reputable, notable
yeah.
building in the city.
Yeah, I think
One
that's
of the
their
nicest.
second residential building. The first one being Accra,
Right.
So, which you're very familiar, another past Curated buildings. So, when you offer long-term value, it's unique buildings.
Yeah.
From a rental point of view, from a resale point of view, and we start with this image.
Yeah.
Your archway style going into.
Well,
the
this is the
building.
hero shot, right? You
Yeah.
walk in, and if you're wondering what A Temple is and where it is, this is located just off Dufferin Street, just south of King. So if you're heading towards the CNE grounds, where the future CNE stop, I think, of the GO train,
The exhibition.
or the
Exhibition,
exhibition,
yeah.
it's the exhibition stop. There's going to be a transit hub right there for the exhibition hub, just down the street, walking distance from here, right off of Dufferin Street at Dufferin and King, A Temple. When you're driving south on Dufferin Street moving forward, you're going to see this archway coming down the street there. So people like to, its real geographic location is in Parkdale. I like to call it Liberty Village West. Is my I
like that spin.
I've been corrected by some of our agents here that no, you're actually Parkdale East. And we can get into this all day. but
You're
it's-
near perfect transit score.
It's
That's the only
Liberty
transit-
Yeah, that's it.
West.
You're near perfect transit.
I will die on the vine of Liberty Village West.
Yes.
I'm starting a movement.
Our sales center is in Liberty Village, so
There you
If
are.
I
That's
have
what
to
we're
start
going with.
getting,
That's our address.
That's
if I
what
have
we're
to start
going with.
lobbying for it, I don't know. Maybe I got to talk to the new mayor of Toronto to change the line over a little bit. But
Lines change.
You're right at the edge of Liberty Village. It's an incredible opportunity where you're not actually in Liberty Village. I've lived on the cusp of it before, where it's nice to have that access to it.
You
So-
want the hustle and bustle, but you don't want to be on top of it.
Yeah.
And I think this is what this building, again, it's not a sales, but this is what this building offers. You've got the streetcar on your doorstep. You're 10-minute walk to the lake.
Yeah.
The guys in the office joke with me, I'm a huge ambassador of public transit.
Yeah.
Anywhere I go in the city, any project we have.
You took your bike here.
I
today.
took the bike here today.
Yeah.
So literally, the guys always joke. When we talk about transit, I know our sites inside out because I take public transit.
Right, you know the route.
Like this one, I can tell you from a location point of view, I'm all about time efficiency. The quickest point of view to get to this site, if you're coming from downtown where a lot of the viewers or a lot of your buyers are going to be living or working, you've got Union Station.
Yeah.
You're literally 7 minutes on the go.
Yeah.
Union to Exhibition, and then less than a 10-minute walk to this.
You're also right on the highway.
And you're right on the highway.
It's access to everything.
Like you want to go anywhere, you're right on the highway. You don't got to drive
The
through
whole city's
downtown
on your
Toronto to
doorstep.
get to the alley.
Everything is on your doorstep. Your
You're on.
waterfront, like a big thing. I think a lot of that Liberty Village market, we like the outdoor space. We haven't even talked about the terraces and balconies in these buildings. They're all oversized balconies and terraces, bigger than what you're going to see in the market.
And I want to keep it a little bit of a secret right now for people so they can dig into the marketing materials that we send out to them about Temple. But I think it's a great project for everyone going out there. Let's circle back into pre-construction a little bit, and maybe you can give our viewers a quick, like a couple quick hit points. I'll fire off some questions to you, some value add perspectives from your angle. What's the most important thing that somebody thinking about buying a pre-construction unit right now should be thinking about? And you kind of mentioned it
Developer.
before. Developer.
One.
That's
Yeah.
key.
So tell me the top 3 things that they should be looking for.
Developer should be your main research. Who is a developer? Past history, what they're doing. 2 needs to be location, transit. 3 needs to be value add and growth in the location. That for me, when I buy, personally, are your 3 main points. But as I said, you can't go to step 2 and 3 without getting step 1 right.
You have to
off
do
the
your
bat.
due diligence, yeah.
Yeah, and that is key. And we're lucky with Curate, and I'm not keep giving a plug, keep coming back to them. When they do their site acquisitions, they buy areas that there's money being pumped into already.
Right.
We've seen it in Midtown. You've got the LRT Crosstown. I know a lot of traffic problems there now, but they buy in areas of growth.
Where's it coming?
Here, 20 billion already. We're not going to
Liberty Village West.
We know what's been pumped into this
Love it.
location. So again, they're offering the same principle: established transit locations. Not it's coming.
Yeah.
It's already
It's already
established.
established.
The money's already spent.
established.
Amazing.
And that is key.
And when we talk about due diligence, that's another good one. Like, what's some due diligence that somebody buying a pre-construction condo should be doing? Or,
Well,
either if you want to
one,
answer.
I think you can talk on more of this as well. One, you need a very strong agent to advise you. 2, you need to get a lawyer to make sure that they know reviewing the contract, because as, we talked about earlier all these incentives. You can even have capped development charges, but they're capped at what?
Is it a hard cap?
Is it a hard cap? This was a big one that came up. We did it at Accra. We hard capped them, so there weren't going to be future changes. So they can advertise cap development, but is it going to be a soft cap or a hard cap? So you genuinely, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You need to have expertise genuinely advising you on contracts on buying pre-con.
Amazing. And like, if you could give us like your hero shot, like something you want to tell the viewers, like in a very good hit point, what would you tell them about pre-construction right now? Like, what's your, and I'd like to hear from both of you separately.
Yeah. Do you want to give your?
Well, one of the things that is key, value-wise, especially when we're looking at a market like today, is the regentrification you touched on earlier. The best comparison that I could give to this project is King West back in the mid 2000s, where it was a colorful neighborhood. That was my first condo I bought in 2006.
You had a lot of fun down there.
I had a lot of fun down there. But people question my purchase. They're like, are you sure you want to buy there? It's really shady. That's where the value comes into play. It's having that right realtor that sees the future value of an area, and the fact that you're spinning as Liberty West. I love it. That's going to add value.
You're gonna owe me some money on that one.
We're going to get you some.
Oral's gonna be in the sales center. He's gonna have a shirt that says Liberty Village West on it.
This is why we want him on the team. This is why he's on the team for Temple as well. He knows this location.
I should be on the team for Temple at
You
this
are.
point.
You are done. You are.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll figure it out at the end when we get to
the
that
logistics
point.
of that.
Yeah. I'll call Eric on that one. Amazing. And Neil, what would your be?
For me,
to end this off, tell us what
for
your
pre-con. It's simple. Time. The market, both financial markets, the banking system, things are tight right now, as people know better than anybody. So people are budgeting way more frugally than they used to before because the banks are more restricted on their lending. So I think when you're buying pre-con, once you buy right, you're buying time, because the buildings aren't ready for 3, 4, 5 years out.
Right.
So it's allowing your buyer, or your first-time buyer, or somebody trading up, or your investor that has money tied up elsewhere, you're not drawing down immediately. So I think when people ask me, and friends and family, people around the world ask, why is it so special in pre-con? it's your buying time.
I totally
It's 4 or
agree.
5 years out. You can budget. Once you do the rest of the due diligence correctly, the second part is easy. You know the payments that are coming. It's like a car loan.
You spread yourself out.
Spread yourself out.
In a market like today, yeah, you're buying yourself some time
Yeah.
to get out of what we're in now. And the consensus is that things are going to change in 3 or 4 years by the time these are done. So it's going to be a lot different than the climate is now.
Absolutely.
And I think when you buy reputable builders, Josh,
When you buy right.
you buy right. Like I've seen, I've worked. I don't know if I'd be fortunate. I've worked in markets that are really, really down.
Yeah.
In Europe in 08, 09. I think the key is when you buy right and you buy to hold. When you start, trying to, get a crystal ball and flip things. That's where you're kind of getting into choppy waters. So I think.
Well, I think right now, and we can end it on this, is kind of like that's a true testament to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
We have an influx of condos for sale in the city of Toronto right now. And that's not to say stuff's not selling fast. The average days on market, which we talked about on Tuesday on this podcast, was I think it's sitting at 28 days right now for a condo in the city of Toronto. But, the average condo is just sitting. Yeah. They're super. But when you have something specific that people want, that's high quality, that has everything that somebody's looking for, even in this climate right now, it's selling, and it's selling very quickly.
It is,
and that's why you got to
It's
buy
product.
right.
It's good product. You buy
and
good
demand.
product,
100%.
and that's key.
Product
We
and
launched a building on Wednesday night, as you know, for a big name developer. We're doing very well.
Yeah, of course, and it's a prime location.
Yeah.
It all works right when it all works, and that's what Austin Birch is doing well. The same way, like we pick our projects that we're standing behind, I think Austin Birch really does that a great job at that as well. They get behind really good projects. They're not selling you something that they wouldn't buy themselves.
No, and again,
100%.
that's really, as you know, for years with us, that's very important to us. And I think the reason we have a very strong relationship with the agents is we do the due diligence for you as well. Before
Right.
we bring you the product, we're also doing a level of due diligence.
100%.
We actually probably turn down more projects than we take on in a
Yeah,
year, which is
that's
a good
usually a
sign.
good sign.
Amazing, guys. Well, Neil, Oral, thank you guys so much for coming in.
Josh,
Again, this
thanks a
is
lot.
the guys from Austin Birch here. We talked a little about Curated and 8 Temple coming up. I'm Josh Benoliel, VP of Sales here at Property.ca. This is Tales from the Lockbox, a Property.ca podcast. Thanks for listening. Hit subscribe, give us a like, share it with your friends. Hope we added some value to your life. Have a great day. Life is beautiful.